Hello world, and we are back. And this is going to be episode 20 of my poker vlog. My name is Kyle Fischl, and yes, we are filming from the car again.
Cuz you living in your car or something?
What? No, that's crazy. Living in my car. What?
And I pretty much do this because the casino's kind of loud. There's a lot of distractions, people walking around, stuff like that. And it's kind of weird when you're in the corner talking to your phone, to yourself. It's a very strange image. So, slide over to the car, do some hand breakdowns, talk about what happened. The heater is continuing. The month is going relatively well. And we played a session last Saturday the 29th. A few interesting hands. First one, I've only sat at the table for a little bit, about 2 laps, so very early. For this hand, I have ace-king offsuit. Early position player raises to 20. A middle position player calls. Because I'm so new to this table and the 2 people in the hand, I really don't know. And I know a lot of the people at Orange City, but have no history with these players, so I don't want to play a huge pot out of position, so that's why we choose not to 3-bet. We simply call. And so we go 3 ways to a flop, which comes king 6 deuce, all offsuit. Now, flop, very, very good. Because we are not the pre-flop aggressor, we're not going to donk lead. We have the chance to raise, but we're not going to donk lead. We're just going to play and flow and see what happens. Early position player, the pre-flop aggressor, checks. Middle position player, he bets $40. So 2/3 pot, pretty big. Because it's this big, I really don't want to raise. I think raising, again, just bloats the pot when you're out of position and you have a strong enough hand to just call down with. I think just check call mode's the right avenue here with this particular hand. So I do call. Turn is a jack of diamonds, brings 2 diamonds. Not the best card because one of the hands that he could easily have that'd be is king jack. That gets there. And I guess it's not that bad because if he was bluffing with ace queen, he might bluff again. Either way, just going to play and flow again. I check to him and this time he bets $60. Top pair, top kicker, still not going to go anywhere. Just going to call, see how we develop. And the river is a 4. Checked him again, he bets $100. I do not snap call this. I do think about it for a bit. And I do beat king queen. And I chop ace king. There's not a whole lot I really beat that would play this way. And slow played aces, maybe. I have no read on this player, so with top pair, top kicker, at this point it's only 1/3 pot. Gotta put in the call button, and he has king jack. So, kind of disappointing result because there were several ways I could have won that hand. A large raise pre-flop could have got it done. However, on the flop, if I raise, I think that he's likely to call. When he makes it 40, I don't know, if I make it like 160 is pretty much the level I'd have to do. He might call, and if he does, he turns a jack, and I've made the pot huge, and he wins anyway. So, kind of upset that I did not raise pre-flop, but we're going to move on. A post-hand note is that this player played maybe 4 hands across 5 or 6 hours, and I see everything. I see how often you're playing, how your chip stacked, you know, if you're going on a mini downswing in terms of the game flow, a upswing, if you're opening wide, I see it all. And because this player only did 4 hands across 5 hours, and that was one of them, if this hand happened later in the session, I had seen this, I probably would have folded on the turn. At that point, it could be aces, kings, like, he's always had the goods in the 4 hands he's played, so if I had a little more knowledge, it would be easier to get away from, but with little knowledge, top pair, top kicker, gotta go with it. Next hand that's interesting, there is 5 limpers to me in the big blind, and I have queen 9 of diamonds. So, pretty good hand to play multi-way. I'm not really worried about it. You know, there's no reason to raise because, like, a size that would work would have to be about 50 to even get a few folds, especially at this table. This table's wild. So, you know, with no fold equity at all, we'll just play a strong hand. Or we'll play a hand that plays decent multi-way. Just check it. Well, the flop comes queen, queen, 6 with 2 clubs. So, pretty much flop the best hand I could ever want here. But out of position, I choose to check because I think that someone will take a stab at it, and I already have one of the queens, so it's unlikely someone else has a queen. And with the level of players at the table, I think a lot of people would take a stab with a 6, and maybe some ace highs and even some flush draws. No one does, it checks through. So the turn is another 6, and this is a pretty fantastic card because now if someone did have a queen, I had a kicker problem, I no longer have a kicker problem. And now I choose to check again because, again, in the big blind, out of position, I think someone's definitely going to take a stab at it now because now a 6 will feel much better about bottom side of the full house, and ace highs might look to steal it when no one has anything because, you know, 5 ways or 6 ways, $30 pot, pretty good. Well, under the gun bets 15. There's 3 callers, and it's back to me. This is probably a raise spot to about 3x, but my thought process at the time is that there's no card on the river I'm not going to like, so might as well keep everyone in for every reason. You know, even ace highs, because if I raise, all the ace highs are going to fold. If I raise, maybe a 6 can get away from it. And I want to keep everyone in there and just evaluate on the river. Well, the river's the ace of hearts. Now that is not actually a bad card because all the ace highs that we're just gonna, you know, hero call, they now made a pair, so they might even feel better about their hand. So now I actually lead out for $50 because I think all the ace highs and the 6s are gonna call this. The pot's relatively sizable. That $50 is a enticing amount. Well, the under the gun player, that was the person who entered into 5 people on the turn, he goes all in for 110. Everyone folds and it's back to me. You know, only $60 more. I think that I'm chopping a lot of the time. Most of the time, really. So I just call. But no, he has ace queen. So kind of unorthodox that he did not raise pre-flop, which would have gotten me out of there for any decent amount. You know, he didn't raise pre-flop, but, you know, once the flop comes, me and him are getting it in anyway, so a mini cooler of a flop. And kind of a bad river card, but whatever, at least he only had 110 and not 500. For the next interesting hand, I'm in the hijack. It's folded to a middle position player who's relatively good. You know, he knows what he's doing. He limps. And I look down at ace 7 offsuit. Now, because this player is relatively good, and the 2 players in the big and small blind are some of the weaker players at the table, I think this is a great squeeze play. Squeeze spot, bluff spot, whatever you want to call it. The competent middle position player, you know, would raise with all of his good hands. He really has never limped yet. So, and he's kind of on a mini downswing. He's on a second and a half, third buy-in. You know, he keeps pulling out of his pocket. So he's got his wide tilty kind of range, and I think that I can make it 25 and make the $12. And this is kind of more prevalent in tournament poker, but you got to get these little pots like that to be able to stay, you know, even until you hit your monsters. But you got to find these steals now and again. So this is my steal spot. I make it 25, but the big blind and the middle position player call anyway. But, you know, we'll take an ace in position to a flop of 5, 6, 8, 2 hearts. That is a pretty good flop for me, actually. And I'm already thinking about how much I'm going to bet out when it checks to me, but the middle position player donks into me for 45. Kind of a large amount, actually. And in position, open-ended, I blocked the heart with my 7, and just being open-ended, and the fact that donk bets are usually pretty weak. Like, it's never 9-7 for a donk lead. It's usually like a flush draw or a pair type hand, But either way, I'm not gonna leave for one street when I have open-ended. The big blind called as well. Well, the turn is the 9 of diamonds, so it brings a second flush draw on board. And now with this card, big blind checks, he bets 80. I should be good here all day, every day. I would bet my entire stack and his entire stack and every stack on the table that he does not have 10-7. There's no way you have 10-7.
Are you sure?
Yes?
Would you be willing to stake your life on it?
I think so.
What about his life?
I don't know.
With that in mind, with 2 flush draws that would theoretically be able to pay me off, with pocket 8s being a strong candidate to pay me off now that he bet twice into 2 people, give his range a little bit more oomph to it. So we'll say pocket 8s is possible. Bunch of 2-pair combinations. I think sometimes he could have 8-7. I think that's possible. And we would just chop it up. But either way, we are all in for $420. Big blind folds, and he starts thinking and moaning and groaning, and I'm just like, well, now I hope you call. And I think that this play is actually really good because I would do this with all of my over hearts and over diamonds. Like if I had ace king of hearts or ace king of diamonds, more ace king of diamonds, where I peel 1, turn a flush draw, I would play it the same way because I'm actually relatively balanced in my bluffs to value. So I think that this is going to get a lot of crying calls from even 1-pair type hands who are fully dead because I have the ability and I have done it with just flush draws and things like that. Either way, he just keeps talking out loud. There's no way you have pocket 7s. You can't have a 7. You would never raise to 25 with a 7. And I'm sitting there like, yep. And that's why I went all in, because there's absolutely no reason in this world I should have ace 7 here.
Always be the smartest guy in the room.
It was a steal, limp, gone wrong that backed into a hand. And thankfully, he calls. And then the river is a 6. And I'm like, damn it. You know, pocket 8s just got there. But he shows 8-9. So, of spades. So kind of a cooler turn card for him especially. But we'll be happy to get a full double up there. The final hand that is definitely also the most interesting. There are 5 limpers to me, and I'm in the hijack with ace 10 offsuit. With 5 limpers and I'm in position, the person to my direct left has actually stepped away from the table, so I'm basically the cutoff, but I'm in the hijack. I'm going to raise it up here. An ace and a Broadway card, definitely better than 5 limpers range. Hopefully I can thin the field. If not, I will play a larger pot in position with an ace, even though it's not suited. I'm totally fine with that. So I make it 35, and the button calls, and all 5 people call as well. So 7 ways to a flop, which is ace 8-8, 2 clubs. And then it's checked all the way to me, and now I'm gonna go for thin value. Very small, because I really don't think that... I think any one of the limpers could have an 8 here. Like, every single one of them could have 9-8, 10-8, Jack 8, maybe not Jack 8, 7-8. All the 8s are in those limpers ranges, where they just limp, hope I bet, and then punish me. But that's why we size down a little bit, so that, you know, we can just fold if we get aggressed on. So we make it $80, and the button grabs a handful of green chips and snap puts it in. So fast, it's like under half a second. He raises to 275. And it's folded back all the way to me. Now, when this player does that, he is probably the best player at the table. He has the ability to bluff. He has the ability to do a lot of things. He's very good. He understands situations. And because he understands situations, I just don't think he can ever have an 8 here. Because I'm pretty face up. I raised into 5 people and then bet small. I'm pretty much telling you I got an ace. So you as a good player probably aren't going to have a coherent game plan knowing that I have an ace and knowing you have an 8. Like, just that speed and that snapness of it, you're not going to have the level of, I don't know, strategy that I'd expect out of a good player with that. Like, you're going to miss so much value by not thinking through when you have a clear, kind of cooler-ish situation. And so because of the speed and the non-counting, I really don't think he can ever have an 8 here. However, we have some serious kicker problems. Ace 10. And my next thought is that because he's literally the best player at the table, I've seen him 3-bet with all kinds of stuff. I literally do not see him not 3-betting with a hand that's better than mine, like Ace Jack, Ace Queen, Ace King. He would always 4-bet that on the button. So I don't think that he has a better ace. What hands do I really beat? At the time, I never really considered clubs, but I really just thought it felt like 5s for some reason. It just really felt like a small pair that he was turning into a bluff. And maybe it's just because I think he has the ability to do that, but that was my read at the time, was it was a small pair. He was bluffing with it. He only had $220 behind. It's definitely an all-in or fold moment. There's no call because there's no turn that I'm not going to, call again. So it's all in or fold here. About a minute into me thinking, he counts out the rest of his chips and starts goading me like, hey, you have to just shove all in if you're going to call. Like, there's no reason to just call. And he's definitely right with that. He is correct in saying that. The fact that he said it, it's usually strength. Like, every action he did would get me to fold if it was a player who I considered weak. But because I consider him the best player at the table, every single thing he did just made me think that I was good. Like, if someone who was very inexperienced just instant grabs a stack of chips and puts it in there, they have nuts. They don't just have an 8, they have ace 8. It's over. When he's good and knows what he's doing, I think I'm good here, and I flick a chip in, announce all in, and he snap calls like...
That wasn't a very happy call.
I think I'm actually dead here. I now regret every decision I made.
I immediately regret this decision.
I'm certain he has an 8. Oops. But the turn is a 2 of spades, and the river is a 9 of spades. And he shakes his head and says, you're good. And he does not show, he just says he was on clubs. So, that is a pretty good result for that hand. Alright, so after that hand, I politely take a lap or two, and then I'm ready to head out because you do not want the best player at the table 2 to your left, in great position on you, and theoretically after you for what you just did to him.
Enough! You think you could steal from us and just walk away?
Yeah.
Calling with ace, no kicker. Anyway, so we're into the game for 1K. Had to add on a little bit after those 2 medium-sized debacles. And then we are out of the game for 1,900 exactly.
Alright, so we got 19.
And we've had a fantastic month. We are locking up June just a few K short of a 10K month, which was my goal after my first 2 pretty strong wins. So we are definitely not complaining, though. A very strong month, very strong showing. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment on how you think I played any of these hands. And there will be more to come. Hopefully I run good in July, too. Thank you, everyone.